Ted Nicolaou started in the movie industry doing sound recording for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre in 1974. In 1978, he got a job editing the film Tourist Trap, which was directed by David Schmoller, who was a friend of his from film school. This is where he first met producer Charles Band. He continued working as an editor for Charles Band Productions, and later with Band's Empire Pictures. One day, Nicolaou approached Band, informing him that he wanted to direct a feature. Band thought for a moment and pulled out a poster labeled Terrorvision. No story, no genre, that was all there was. Like many of the films under Charles Band, the initial idea for Terrorvision came as a name and a poster. It was the mid-1980s, and television was bigger than ever up to that point. Taking television and turning it into Terrorvision was a no-brainer and an awesome name for whatever the movie would end up being. Band asked Nicolaou if he could do something with this. Nicolaou looked at the poster and knew it had to be a comedy. He suggested the genre, and Band agreed. Nicolaou then took the poster and began to write the script. With the title Terrorvision, he decided to make a satire based on society in the 1980s and their obsession with television. He wanted to make the film a weird mix, something that would appeal to kids as well as stoners. He wrote the script about a family that accidentally brings a monster to Earth through their satellite dish. He saw Invaders from Mars as a kid and wanted to make a film that was a different kind of alien invasion movie. One where the alien was essentially a pet with an insatiable appetite that was going to eat everything on Earth. The family, and everyone in the script, were completely exaggerated versions of real people. There was the husband and wife duo of swingers, the new wave Valley Girl daughter, the heavy metal boyfriend, the survivalist-obsessed grandfather, and the medicated kid that no one believes. They were all the worst qualities and stereotypes of people in LA in the 1980s. He had in his mind that everyone in the film needed to die, so he wrote the characters to be unlikable. He felt that if we killed the family, we can't like them too much. If the audience had any sympathy for these terrible people, it would change the whole dynamic. At the time, Band was looking for a new studio. They had numerous films where they were doing pre-production in LA and then shipping over to Italy for the actual filming. Just outside of Rome, Italy, they were filming in the old Dino De Laurentiis studios, which was dubbed Dino Città, after Cinecittà. This was the same studio where they shot Barbarella and Danger Diabolique. The studio was in severe disrepair. Producer De Laurentiis had a string of flops that caused him to have to sell the studio to the Italian government. Before he left, he ripped out all the plumbing and wiring in the studio and moved to the United States to start DEG Studios. They worked in the De Laurentiis studios, which eventually became Empire Studios, for Band's Empire Productions. While pre-production for Terrorvision was going on, special effects wizard John Carl Buechler was in the Rome studios filming Troll. Buechler was Band's go-to creature effects guy, doing makeup effects for Ghoulies, Trancers, the Dungeon Master, and many others. Nicolaou was in touch with Buechler, who was also working on designing the monster for Terrorvision. They had to take the design from the poster, the eye and tentacles, and incorporate that into what they were creating. Nicolaou had a very distinct look he wanted for the monster. He told Buechler,
"Make it look really stupid."
He wanted Buechler to make a monster that had no symmetrical qualities. One big eye and one little eye. A mouth that was far too large. A misshapen tail. And of course, a tentacle with an eye and a little mouth to match the poster art. He wanted it to be something that was both goofy and scary at the same time. A giant living turd. Buechler also designed Pluthar, the alien trying to help Earth to stop the monster. He created Pluthar to look like the aliens he saw on Saturday morning television. Since they were filming in Italy, most of the crew was Italian. They hired Romano Albani to be the director of photography. He shot numerous films before, including Phenomena and Inferno for Dario Argento. At the time when he was hired, he was working with Buechler on Troll. They hired production manager Giovanni Natalucci, who was also working on Troll. To get the look of the film right, Nicolaou and Natalucci went to the Valley in Los Angeles to look at swingers' houses. Natalucci then began to design the look for the Putterman house. They built the sets in the soundstage right next to the one being used for Troll. Natalucci designed the Putterman house to be an overly exaggerated version of the swingers' houses he saw in LA. Everything was intentionally over the top. Bright colors, ugly furniture, needlessly sexy fountains, and ridiculously tacky paintings. With that going on, they started casting. In the time leading up to this, Nicolaou kept seeing actress Mary Woronov on Sunset Boulevard. Thanks to movies like Silent Night, Bloody Night, and Death Race 2000, Woronov was already a cult favorite. Beyond that, the director was a fan of her film Eating Raoul. He asked her to come in and read for the part of the late-night horror hostess, Medusa. Warrenov read the script and said Medusa was what most would cast her in, but that she really wanted to play the mother Raquel. Nicolaou was just happy to have her on board and told her she could have any part she wanted. For the husband Stan, Nicolaou wanted Saturday Night Live alumni Harry Shearer. Shearer turned down the role, and they ended up hiring Garrett Graham, who coincidentally was in Cannonball with Mary Warrenov. Graham was the star of films like Phantom of the Paradise and Demon Seed, so he was well versed in camp. For the daughter Susie, they had an audition from Belinda Carlisle of the Go-Go's. The band had just broken up, and after having a small part in the movie Swing Shift, she was looking into getting into acting before creating her debut solo album. They ended up going with Diane Franklin, who was just coming off the comedy Better Off Dead. The character of Grandpa was based off the LA street performer named General Hershey Bar. They auditioned numerous older leading men and decided on classic actor Burt Remsen. For Sherman, the kid, they hired Chad Allen. Allen was 10 at the time, and had been acting since he was 5 in TV shows like Airwolf, St. Elsewhere, and Webster. This would be his first film. John Grise was coming off the film Real Genius and auditioned for Terrorvision. He also auditioned for the Peter Hyams action comedy Running Scared, and got the part. When he found out he also got the role in Terrorvision, he wasn't sure he wanted it. He spoke to Hyams, who let him know that due to some hoops he had to jump through, Running Scared wouldn't be filming for a while, and he would have time to do this other movie. They hired Sonny Carl Davis to play Norton, the TV repair guy. Davis became a favorite in the Empire and Full Moon stable, and had minor parts in numerous productions, usually as the character Rabbit. The costumes were designed in Los Angeles. For Susie's outfit, they designed her to look like a slightly exaggerated Cyndi Lauper. They took multiple wigs, dyed them different colors, and glued them together. Nicolaou wanted everything to be intentionally over the top. Everything had to be dialed up to 11 to make this a live-action cartoon. That way no one would question what was going on, as it would only make sense and these characters would be believable in their own world. The monster was being built in the LA studio and getting ready for the shoot. Since everything was being done on a condensed timetable, they had to quickly ship this giant monster at great expense from Los Angeles to the studio in Italy. They started filming in Dino Città in July of 1985. It was summertime and incredibly hot. With all the heat from the lighting and lack of proper air circulation, the sets were scorching. It was far too uncomfortable, so they brought in giant AC units to cool things off. They then took tubing and piped in fresh air for the guys working in the monster suit. It took multiple people to control the monster. Inside were 2 of the creature effects workers, and another one controlled the eye tentacle. The monster was on rollers so they could push it wherever they needed it to go. You can see one of the crew pushing it here. The creature's tongue was a prosthetic rubber sleeve that one of the effects guys wore and controlled. Nicolaou wanted the monster to be a giant, disgusting mess, so before every shot, they covered the beast in lubricant. They had giant drums of a chemical called methyl cellulose, which was the main ingredient in KY jelly. This looked disgusting and left stains wherever it went, so they had to be careful where they were shooting with it. Beekler was burning the candle at both ends. He was on set shooting Terrorvision by day and was editing Troll by night. The Pleasure Dome was built to be a swinger's take on a Roman bath. They built the pool and ran air tubes to make bubbles. The steam was made by dropping in dry ice. This made it really uncomfortable for the actors because while it looks like it's hot, the dry ice made the water freezing. One of the structures on the alien planet was just a model of the Star Trek Enterprise flipped upside down. The backyard was a set and they painted the wall blue to make it look like the sky. The front yard was filmed in a neighborhood close by the studio. When the family's messing with the satellite dish, they land upon a music video. The song was Tormentor from the band Wasp. The footage they had was reused from another Empire film, The Dungeon Master. Later, OD's wearing a Wasp t-shirt. When the couples are in bed together, that was an homage to the 1969 film Bob and Carol and Ted and Alice, which was a movie about swingers. When OD is being attacked by the monster, they really sprayed green goo in the actor's face. The pressure was so great it went up his nose and in his mouth. When they stopped, he was coughing up goo. When OD dies, it was First AD Mauro Sacropanti's idea to make his remains form the shape of a guitar, complete with his bracelets as frets. The alien Pluthar was played by actor William Paulson. They were in a rush to get his shots, and you could see the green makeup coming off on his teeth in some parts. The phone number the movie gives for Medusa was the number of Empire Pictures. Nicolaou hired Jennifer Richards for the part of Medusa, since she was the proper look for the part, which he used later to drive that point home in the most intentionally gratuitous way. Since the movie revolved around television, Nicolaou wanted to put in some of the movies he saw on TV when he was a kid, like Robot Monster and Earth vs. the Flying Saucers. He also read survivalist magazines as a kid, which was where he got the idea for Grandpa to make the lizard tails as a renewable food source. Nicolaou thought about making a more happy ending, but kept the bad one because it felt more appropriate to the spirit of the film. A happy ending would have been a cop-out. The shoot ran for about 2 months. While it was stressful and occasionally painful, overall it was an enjoyable shoot. The group had fun with the absurdity, and they all got along. Many of the nights while they were in Italy, they all got together to have dinner and drink wine. Now that the shoot was finished, Nicolaou was looking for someone to do the score. He was a fan of the Cramps, and asked Lux Interior to work on the film. Unfortunately, the band was getting ready to go on tour, so he had to turn it down. Next, he contacted Frank Zappa in the hopes of having him do the score. Nicolaou screened the film for Zappa, and while he enjoyed it, there were scheduling conflicts that prevented him from being able to take the job. Nicolaou decided to go with Richard Band, Charlie's brother, who did the score for numerous films like Reanimator, Ghoulies, and Troll. When Nicolaou was in LA, he saw a band called the Fibonaccis playing at Club Lingerie on Sunset Boulevard. They were an art punk or post-punk band in the same vein as Oingo Boingo and the B-52s. He contacted them about doing the title track for the film, and they accepted. They also did several other songs for the soundtrack. Legendary voice actor Frank Welker made the noises for the Beast. The film was screened for critics who hated it. The aesthetics of trash sink to new depths of delirium in this kooky sitcom variation on Poltergeist. The film's style is so smugly stupid that it's hard to tell whether the creatures dripping with primordial ooze are any less attractive than the Puttermans. Some people told them to just bury the film and never release it. Band was gearing up to release 3 films back to back: Troll, Eliminators, and Terrorvision. Unfortunately, they had limited money for marketing, and most of the budget went to the first 2, leaving very little for Terrorvision. The film most likely wouldn't have done well, but then something happened that made things worse. The Space Shuttle Challenger explosion. On January 28, 1986, a catastrophic equipment failure during liftoff caused the Space Shuttle Challenger to explode. It was a dark, sad day in American history. A few weeks later, on February 14, 1986, Terrorvision was released. Due to the lack of marketing, as well as the fact that audiences weren't interested in a movie that had anything to do with space after the Challenger explosion, the film was a massive failure, opening in 15th place. It was pulled from theaters after just 4 days. The movie hit home video, but was quickly forgotten. Over the years, it resurfaced, usually on late-night television. I stumbled onto it one night and I had no idea what I was watching, but it stayed with me. The film found its audience over the years and is appreciated more now than it was over 3 decades ago. Terrorvision is now heralded as one of the most beloved bad movies with a B-movie dreamcast. In 1991, the English rock band The Spoiled Brats changed their name to Terrorvision. In 1994, roughly 8 years after Terrorvision, Duracell ran a series of ads with battery people called the Puttermans. It's unclear if this name was an homage to Terrorvision or just a coincidence, but one can argue that both properties are downright weird. In 2018, the Belgian death metal band Aborted released their 10th album, Terrorvision. Terrorvision is a sight to behold. You have so much talent crammed into a premise that is nothing short of ridiculous. Nicolaou was great at helming this oddity, and would go on to be a regular director for band, moving from Empire to Full Moon. He's done some of my favorites, Subspecies 1, 2, and 3, as well as Bad Channels, which I adore. The cast was terrific, with everyone giving an appropriately over-the-top delivery on everything.
Holy tomatoes!
John Carl Buechler's creature design was the showstopper here, with a monster that looks like a giant deformed dog. It does manage to be disgusting and cute at the same time. Buechler had a fantastic history working in special effects, working on classics like Friday the 13th Part 7, Dolls, Prison, From Beyond, A Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master, Hatchet, and of course, Troll. He sadly died on March 18th of 2019, shortly after he was diagnosed with stage 4 prostate cancer. He was only 66. His talent will be seriously missed. Terrorvision. It's a disgusting mess of 1980s taken to the extreme, served on a silver platter and dripping with goo. If nothing else, it's a reminder that there still are unique ideas out there.
Jesus, could you believe that kid?
Oh, I thought he was kind of cute. That punk stuff is just a phase anyway.
Yeah, I know, but don't they know how ridiculous they look?